I only half jokingly say that most organizations, what they produce the most of is meetings. Everything else is a byproduct, right? And I've yet to come up to anyone who said, "Oh, our meetings are great. We love our meetings." Like, yeah, we all want to improve our meetings. And the second metric it's a dashboard, by the way. I'm not making a report. There's nothing to read. It's not making more work. It's trying to make less work. So it's a dashboard that, like a car or a fighter jet or whatever, only the essential information. The second thing is a cost meter. So I don't need people's salaries, but I know the ranges, EVP, SVP, VP, blah, blah, blah. The meeting starts, the ticker starts ticking, and we all know that time is money, but when you see it in real time, you start going, can we wrap this up?
Hi there, you're listening to A Founder's Life, and I'm your host, Leo Costetner. My guests and myself share our entrepreneurial journey and our methods for a balanced life. I'm joined here today by Roy Vella. Roy, thank you for joining us. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Roy Vella. Introduction, I would say I'm a deep tech geek. I always have been. I love the convergence of science, technology, and humanity. My footprint, I'm a New Yorker by birth. I got about a dozen years each: New York, Bay Area, London, and now I'm outside Boston for about half a dozen. In terms of work, I spent a lot of my career in the fintech world. I started a fintech out of grad school, sold that, ended up in the early days of PayPal. PayPal sent me to London. That's how I got there. A lot of time in mobile banking, payments, smart home, IoT, and now AI, the AI moment. And I would say I'm a startup junkie. I love the creative problem solving of the early phases, and I kind of do all of that: mentor, advisor, board member, angel, and now founder again with NextCoLab, which I'm sure we'll talk about a bit.
I love that. It must have been fun being with PayPal in the early days.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. Yeah, and very interesting. When I joined PayPal, there were 13 PayPals, like carbon copies with big brands. They had BillPoint, Yahoo had PayDirect, Citibank had C2it, carbon copies. And I tell people, often people are like trying to protect their idea. I'm like, it's not about your idea. It's about execution, right? And out executing. And that's what PayPal did. Breaking a few laws on the way, a little bit in the early days, but so it goes.
Yeah, and they did. I mean, there's some interesting books talking about the PayPal mafia and how, how many companies today, the founders or the investors were founders of PayPal.
Yeah.
Quite interesting what that spurned.
Yeah, and it was that execution mentality and just getting things done and doing the right thing and sort of also just kind of hiring smart people and then say, go. Like, you were kind of the biggest deal that I did for PayPal. The day of the signing, I was too junior to sign it. The VP had to sign it. And he literally said to me, so tell me again, what's this deal about? And I'm like, oh my God. Like I had been working on it for like a year, and it was a huge deal. When the deal was announced, it moved eBay stock 5% that day. And that was the first day I met Meg Whitman. She called me because she had worked her way down to me and no one really knew what the deal was about and she's like, I don't like when the stock moves without me knowing why. And I'm like, well, I tried to get the press release or the eBay wouldn't do a press release. The other partner, Payment Tech, did a press release and that's what moved the stock. And I was like, well, that's why you don't know, because I tried to get them to announce it and they wouldn't announce it. Anyway, long story, but yeah, fascinating days. Solid crew. Still in touch with a lot of the PayPal alumni. And it is an alumni network. We still stay in touch.
That's great. I think the startup ecosystem. And so we'll come back to work, but talk a little bit about family, what family means to you.
Yeah. I have 3 teenagers. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that anymore. My eldest just turned 20, so he likes to remind me he's no longer a teenager. But junior in college, freshman in college, junior in high school. A boy and 2 girls, and a dog and a wife. Life is fun and challenging and lots going on. I happened to get up at 3 a.m. this morning to take my son and his buddies to the airport. They're off to a trip to Japan for rock climbing, and they're like, "Hey, can you take us to the airport?" I'm like, "Sure." They're like, 3 a.m. I'm like, "Okay, thanks for that." But yeah, and I love parenthood. I love being a father. It's super fun. I actually tonight, my youngest, the junior, I'm a chaperone on their. They're going on a cruise. It's the junior boat cruise out of the harbor in Boston. So my kids keep me busy for sure. Yeah.
Well, fun. I think there's nothing quite like the time with our kids.
Totally. And I actually tell people a lot, especially new parents. I'm like, I'm going to give you some unsolicited parenting advice, but I'm like, the currency of parenthood is attention and presence. And kids, I mean, okay, there's needs, food, shelter, blah, 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 but wants, they just want your attention. And they're like Geiger counters for attention. I tell new parents all the time, you're going to either score 0 or 1. You either were paying attention or you were not. There's no half. There's no like glancing at your screen, or like when they run up to show you what they drew, 100% attention to them for that interaction. And all those interactions, you either score 0 or 1. But it's a short window. I tell people you get a decade to a dozen years with your kids. What does that mean? They're a cute blob the first year. You start having a relationship when they're 2, 3. By the time their age ends in teen, they're busy. Friends, sports, school, jobs, they got a lot going on. As soon as my kids became teens, I need to schedule time with them. They're on the go, What is that? If you don't get hit by a bus, 15% of your life, 10 to 15% of your life, give or take, it's a short little window. And I'm like, look, if you had kids, make the investment, give them the attention. I mean, I only half joking, I say the only person who runs for the door when I get home is my dog. Everyone else is like, "Yay, Dad." Right? Like, but they run for the door when they're in single digits, right? You come home and they're 8, "Daddy's home," like blah, 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 right? It's a worthwhile investment, because then that pays off for the rest of your life. They want to spend time with you,
That I think nails it. And no one dies saying, "I wish I'd spent less time with my kids."
Yeah.
But I think you nailed it, which is by spending that time before they're 18, they want to spend time with you after they're 18. Like my kids are 19 and 22. They are still the center of my life. I still spend a vast amount of time with them, and they want to spend the time with me. And that's because, I think what you said is right, which is you can't be there for everything. You can't be there for every sports thing, every whatever. But when you're there, it's being present. It's showing them that actually you care what they've got to say, whatever immaterial, unimportant thing it is. You're still being there because they want to be heard. Like anyone, they want to know that you care, and you do.
And I think there's a lot of intention, right? Like you have to carve out the time. So, for instance, when we moved from the Bay Area to London, I was the only one on my team in London. I was kicking off PayPal Mobile London. The rest of the team was in California. And I told them very clearly, it took me a few weeks to notice that I was doing 9 to 5 London. Then it was 9 to 5 California. I'm like, wait, that's not going to work. But I said 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. London time, I'm incommunicado. It's dinner, bath, and bedtime. After 8, when they're asleep, whatever. Yeah, I'm happy to have calls from 8 to midnight if I need to. That's fine. But unless someone's dying, do not call me between 5 and 8. I'm just going to ignore that. That is their time, and you carve it out. And by the way, the funny part about that is people are hesitant, like, because your career and your kids are going up at the same time, right? Often. And people are often hesitant to talk about the prioritization of their family and kids. But in my experience, respect goes up. Everyone in the corporate environment goes, "Okay, amen, sure, okay, got it. Not available." And you tell them why. And I was also very clear with people, like, I'm on a class trip to the British Museum today. if I can respond to you, I will. If not, I can't. Like, go to just do the things, and tell people this is why I'm not available. That I'm going to a concert. I'm going to my fifth graders play. Like, just be clear. And people, I would say 99% of the time are like, cool, okay, yeah, got it. You're prioritizing your family. I appreciate that. you know.
Yeah, and I think people. I think it's getting better now.
Yes.
But I was on a networking event the other day, and there were four of us in a room, and two of them introduced themselves. No mention of kids at all. I was up next. I mean, I almost start talking about my kids because, to be honest, that's an important part of my identity, and that's fine. I mean, being a father is important. And then the next person talked about their kids, and then the other two actually loop back and were, oh, okay, we're talking about kids, but they hadn't thought about that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I think
You know,
actually
it's
I would even zoom out even further, right? So I often talk about, so I had another child. Before my son, we had Samantha. So my son Griffin, Samantha was born at 23 weeks of pregnancy. She came out literally a pound and a foot, and she lived for 13 weeks. She lived to her technical due date, actually. And that's horrible. That's absolutely horrible. Like, that's a horrible experience. You're not supposed to lose your kids at any age. But that is a part of our lives. Samantha's photos on the wall. Our kids all talk about Samantha. I think it's really interesting in terms of so my son will sometimes say that he's the oldest but not the first. And I'm always curious what that will mean in his life, because, birth order and all this kind of stuff. But, to being transparent with people about the positives and the negatives. Life throws shit at you. Like, that was a horrible experience, and I ended up on the lucky side of that equation because those things either tear you apart or pull you together. There's no middle ground. And it pulled us together, and then after Samantha, we had 3 kids in a row, bang, bang, bang. So yeah, I think talking about your personal experiences makes you more real and also brings people closer to you. They trust you more. They want to be on the inside, and that's a good thing. That's good for anything. It's good for business. It's good for life. It's good, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I often say I wouldn't change much in my life. I've had successes, I've had failures, and some people are like, well, you want to avoid that. No, because to be honest, they all are who you are today. You wouldn't be who you were today if it isn't for the negatives, the positives, the success, the failures. It's all what makes you who you are.
Yeah. Well, that's one of my favorite. I have 2 favorite quotes, and you just nailed the first one, which is the journey is the reward. Like, there's no pot of gold somewhere. I tell people, if you're miserable today, change things now, because this is this is it. The journey is the reward. Don't this sacrificing for some future something. I'm like, it's kind of not an accurate way to look at things, in my opinion. Yeah, I concur.
I love that one. The journey is the reward.
The journey is
that's a good one.
Yeah, and my second favorite, since I brought it up, is. You'll never find time for anything. If you want time, you need to make it. And I think it's a very interesting thing in English language, and a lot of languages actually when you look through it, but we say find time and we say make time. And I believe that we are time producers. You make as much time as you need to do what you want to do. If someone says to me, oh, I can't seem to find the time to do that, I'm like, you don't want to do it. Like if you wanted to do it, you would make time to do it because we're time producers. If you didn't make time to do it, this find time stuff, I'm like, it's not really a thing. It's an excuse. It's a good excuse for why you didn't make time to do it.
Yeah, I do a small amount of coaching with quite often earlier stage parents. And, it's people get so stuck in work and they're like, well, I haven't got time for anything else. Well, that's not really true. Number one, if you don't schedule it, it doesn't happen. That's always a good saying. So, schedule time with your kids, schedule time to work out, to be healthy. Because yes, as an entrepreneur, your list, my list will never get all ticked off. There's a permanent list. So it just comes down to, what do you schedule? What do you prioritize? And yes, health, family, they need to be prioritized the same as anything else. Otherwise, why work hard if all of your purpose in life is working hard? That seems like
what's the point?
just pointless.
Right. Totally. 100%. Completely aligned. Yes. Agreed.
I love that we have sort of some very similar views.
Yeah.
And talk to me about health, what health means for you.
Yeah. I mean, health, sleep, all of the, it's the foundation, right? I mean, we are biological entities for the foreseeable future. And this is the substrate for everything else that you're doing. I happen to be a biofeedback geek, right? I like to track data. I like to, but I'll caveat that I only like to track data that influences behavior, right? So it's all about behavior change. If my Oura ring doesn't talk about my height, because there's nothing I can do about that, right? Like, it's just not gonna, right? Like, and so there's a bunch of biofeedback that I find fascinating and useful. I meditate with a Muse headband because the biofeedback from the headband is really useful. And it's kind of fascinating how much you can control it. Like, you can really understand the dynamics of your being present and meditating and doing different things by getting that biofeedback. So for me, sort of health and all of the biofeedback and science around it is really about making the invisible transparent, right? So now I can see things that I just couldn't see before, right? Your sleep is a fantastic example. You're asleep. You don't really know if you were snoring or rolling over or having micro sleep and not waking up or whatever, right? So getting feedback while you're in that state is kind of useful, And yeah, I also think, what passes through your lips is everything, right? I mean, that's a ton of the dynamics and food and where the food system has gone and the health system has gone. You kind of need to take responsibility for yourself. We tend to be we happen to be a gluten-free family. That's more genetics than anything else. We eat whole foods as much as possible, minimizing processing in any regard, minimizing sugar. There's a great movie called That Sugar Film, which talks about the debate in the 40s and 50s between sugar and fat, and that sugar won and fat lost. And it was actually the total opposite is reality. Eating fat doesn't make you fat. Eating sugar does make you fat. Like, you know what I mean? So all of that, I just love I follow a bunch of different folks in that realm about food and about health and about exercise and the dynamics between, and then that it's all related, right? Your ability to think is also your ability to be athletic, and also what you eat and how you sleep and all of that. It's all interrelated, And I think we're going to enter a miracle time in that regard. So, I say the three legs of the stool are genetics, epigenetics, and microbiome. And that's just a big data problem. And AI, I rely on LLMs for my business. So no one should take this as a critique of LLMs. But LLMs are cute. Like, the science that's happening right now is off the charts. And I think people just aren't. If you follow me on LinkedIn, I'd say half my posts are science, because it's nuts what's happening. The next 3 to 5 years of science are just going to be staggering, and they're going to change everything, because there's just a bunch of big data problems, not unlike this big data problem, that we finally have the processing power and the approach to find the light and see what's happening, and I mean, it's just incredible what's happening in science. And I could talk about that for forever. but yeah, so health, sleep, exercise, diet, all interrelated, all equally important. I think people don't appreciate sleep enough in the list of things. Like, between exercise and what you eat, sleep is almost the ugly stepchild. But the reality is you're spending a third of your day in this state and understanding it and making it better. Colder environment, the right pillows, no light, blackout blinds, blah, blah, blah. Like, all of this is really worth understanding. I'd say if anyone hasn't looked at their own sleep, that's really again, a third of your life, somewhere between 6 to 8 hours of your day it's like, come on, it's a big chunk. It's a big chunk that should at least get attention.
I'd agree 100%. I think sleep is one of those things that people don't think about enough. And, I'm as an athlete, I notice the difference if I've slept properly or not. Your body needs to recover.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
All these people who think they can manage on 3 or 4 hours of sleep a night, great. Maybe they're freaks who can, but for most normal people, you need at least 7 hours.
And they're trying to figure, there's a couple of families that there's a genetic anomaly where the dad and all the kids sleep about 3.5, 4 hours a night. The mom sleeps a normal 7.5. And they've been studying them. And the way by the way, people don't realize, like, we do this to college students. We torture them, right? So we put them in a dark room for 14 hours. And initially they'll sleep for like 12 hours because they have a sleep deficit that they have. But as soon as they catch up to their sleep, they're sitting in the dark awake for 6 hours because you can't sleep more than you need to a certain extent. Like, your body just is like, now we're ready. We're done. The battery's recharged. And there are a couple of these known genetic anomalous families that they're perfectly healthy and they sleep 3.5, 4 hours a night. And we're trying to figure out how they're getting away with that. Like, how does that work? What's different about these people? But that's like the 0.0001% of humanity. Like, there's very few people who can manage that. But think about how much extra life that is. That's crazy.
I think the you mentioned sugar, which I'd agree is definitely the number one addiction, I think, of our time now.
Totally.
The other thing I thought was interesting, you mentioned the Muse headband. I've come across those. I meditate every day, but I've never tried that. I'm going to have to check it out and see.
It's fascinating.
See what difference it makes.
I was like you. I had meditated beforehand. I got into a beta early on with them, and it's just really interesting. Again, data transparency. You can just see it, but it enables you to control. So I give blood platelets, like you go in and they take platelets out, and it's like a 2.5, 3 hour thing where both your arms are plugged in. And I'm just telling this story because it talks about sort of the meditation and control of your body. So when you first come in, they take your blood pressure, they take your temperature, they take a blood sample for iron, like they're checking that you're okay. And one of them is pulse. And that day I happened to running around and I ran in a little late. And she said, "I'm sorry, you can't give today. Your pulse is too high." I'm like, "Oh," I'm like, "Can you just give me a minute?" She's like, "What?" I'm like, "Just can you check again in like 2-3 minutes?" And she's like, "Sure." So she walked out. I lowered my heart rate because I can do that. She came back in and she's like, "What the hell was that?" I was like, "Well, I meditate every day. I am aware of my breathing and heart, and I have abilities to influence that." And the Muse headband is the one that lets you, you can see that. You can understand the effects. You can do that. And I'll never forget the nurse that day. She was like, "That was weird." And I'm like, "Sorry," But anyway, it's fascinating. So I would recommend playing with it at the very least, Leo. It's interesting. It's just interesting.
Definitely. And I'm going to check it out. So talk a little more about, you talked about your journey. Talk more about your current job, your current business.
Yeah. So we are the convergence of two main trends. So that most meetings, or at least a lot of meetings, are happening in little windows on screens, and LLMs. So for the first time ever, I can tell you, was there an agenda for the meeting? Did the content match the agenda? Did the output match the content in the agenda? Did the entire meeting align with corporate strategy and reflect corporate values? Like, we have the ability now to mine the mountain of unstructured data that is meetings. And we have a methodology. It's a scoring system that does a qualitative and quantitative analysis of meetings. We call ours the 4 E's: effectiveness, efficiency, engagement, and experience. And there's a ton of metrics underneath that roll up to a score. We call it our CoLab score. And I tell people, look, you get what you measure. You don't measure it, You can't fix it. You do measure it. And obviously this actually comes out of all the biofeedback stuff that I was talking about. When you measure things, you can affect them. If you don't measure things, like, I in fact, back in health, I weigh myself in every morning. I wake up, I step on the scale. Like, you get what you measure. You don't measure it, forget about it. And so this is about what we consider to be the atomic unit of organizations, the meeting. I only half jokingly say that most organizations, what they produce the most of is meetings. Everything else is a byproduct, right? And I've yet to come up to anyone who said, "Oh, our meetings are great. We love our meetings." Like, yeah, we all want to improve our meetings. And the second metric it's a dashboard, by the way. I'm not making a report. There's nothing to read. It's not making more work. It's trying to make less work. So it's a dashboard, like a car or a fighter jet or whatever, only the essential information. The second thing is a cost meter. So I don't need people's salaries, but I know the ranges, EVP, SVP, VP, blah, blah, blah. The meeting starts, the ticker starts ticking, and we all know that time is money, but when you see it in real time, you start going, can we wrap this up? I think we're done. Are we done? Because meetings are like snakes. They grow to fill the space allotted. If it's an hour meeting, it takes an hour. If it was a half-hour meeting, it would have taken a half hour. It tends to be the way it is. So that's what we're doing. So it's a platform. And actually, this is kind of timely. On Wednesday, we're launching our private beta. It's kind of a soft launch of our private beta next Wednesday. So the platform works, and it works surprisingly well, I will say. I mean, I knew it would work, but I am a little shocked myself at how well it works. It gives really insightful analysis on your meetings, which is useful.
To see, I think, especially big corporates need something like that. I mean, I'm when we've dealt with big corporates, the amount of people who turn up to a meeting quite often surprises me. And you're like, you really need 10 people looped in to for this discussion.
Well, and now you have, I guarantee people will be like, see this hour meeting, see how I talk for 5 minutes and that's it. And that could have been an email. How about we just make it an email? I mean, this is the thing, right? So I'll have a CoLab score myself, and I might discover really should have meetings in the afternoon. My morning meetings always score lower than my afternoon meetings. Or a team might say, our Monday meetings in the 50s and 60s, the rest of the week's in the 80s and 90s. Do we need the Monday meeting? Because it seems like we don't need it, right? Like the CMO can see her teams globally. The head of Italy can see their teams. It's just the ability to have just transparency of information is really, really interesting. And I say, look, if it goes as we intend, there should be fewer, shorter, better meetings as a result, right? Like there'll be less meetings overall, there'll be shorter meetings overall, but overall the meetings will all just get better. You can't throw out meetings, you need meetings. That's how we collaborate. That's kind of where the CoLab score is about. But yeah, so it's about improving those dynamics. And actually, that's half the proposition. The other half is the content itself. So as an example, someone makes a brilliant strategic insight in a meeting. It doesn't really go anywhere. It's not relevant to the meeting per se. But 2 weeks later, the CEO says, has anyone brought up this topic? Now that person receives a notification. The CEO would like to associate that comment with you. Hey, we're putting a tiger team together on that. And what you said, nailed it. Would you like to help out on that project? Because you get it, right? That doesn't happen in the real world. Comments don't go up and down the stack so easily. And it goes the other direction. The leadership team might be considering an M&A deal. Now they can say, what does our team think of their team? And you can find out, yeah, we kind of, respect them and we're a little worried about competing with them, which might be a good acquisition, or we think they're bozos. It might be a hard acquisition, right? Like just the interrogation of all of that content. It's just incredible, really, I think it's going to, and again, LLMs, right? Just the ability of having a language model that I can, understand the meeting and, do a qualitative, not just quantitative. A quantitative assessment, not bad. A qualitative assessment, really interesting. Yeah.
Interesting. I love where, what people call AI, I'm not convinced any intelligence yet in AI, but what people think of as AI, where it'll go. I mean, we're still in beyond its infancy. I
Yeah.
mean, it's barely
Yeah.
there. Just and the acceleration, as you were saying earlier on health and things like that, but the acceleration of where things will go in an exponential growth will mean that our kids will be growing. I mean, we'll see it, but our kids will grow up in a fundamentally different world to what we grew up.
Yeah, no, I wrote this little piece called Exponential Everywhere, and it's we're on a bunch of exponential curves. I mean, human population exponential curve, urbanization exponential curve, like like you name it, like there are tons of exponential curves around, and AI is one of them, and we've entered the elbow in a lot of them. Like there's going to be some fundamental shifts, no question, and we got to get our head around it and understand how to deal with it and interact with it. And I agree with you. Like the intelligence, it gives the illusion of intelligence to the extent that it speaks English, but what it does have is scale. Like the scale ability is really and which is why science is so important, because science is about hypothesis and then iteration, test and learn, test and learn, test and learn. And now you can do that at an unprecedented scale, right? Like you probably Google DeepMind with AlphaGo and AlphaFold and AlphaProteo. One of my favorite things about that is the AlphaGo model that beat us. The first model they trained on human games. They let it watch human games. The second model, they're like, forget that. Here's the rules. It then played more Go than all of humanity has ever played, right? Like, and that is the breadth that's the thing. And then AlphaFold, we went from about 100,000 folded proteins that we humans had folded. We gave the 20 amino acids to AlphaFold. We hit enter. 2 weeks later, 200 million proteins. 100,000, which we thought was pretty good. 200 million. Like the scientists involved said it didn't fold all the known proteins. It folded all the possible proteins. It created proteins that may or may not exist in nature. We don't know. We haven't seen all the proteins. And again, like the examples of this in biology and chemistry and material science, like it's just nuts what's happening right now. And every week I'm like, oh my God, what? Our kids are going to be, our grandkids, we can't imagine their world. But I'll tell you this, they're going to go, so you interacted with computers using your fingers? They're just like, it's going to be radically different. I tell folks, so this is my prediction. We're 3 to 5 years out from each of us having a personal AI that sees what we see, hears what we hear, and I'll be able to say, hey, Joe, because that's what I named mine. Who's that French guy I talked to? We talked about his daughter. He brought up that book. That'll be enough context for Joe to say, yeah, you spoke to Pierre. He's Belgian, not French, but I see why you would say that. But the book is this. Would you like me to buy it? I'm like, yeah, buy the book, send Pierre a note. Just extended RAM on all of our interactions. And the magic happens right after that. Because Joe is retroactive. Joe is going to opt into my alma maters, my clubs, churches, groups, whatever I am a part of, Joe is now a part of. And one day I'll be minding my own business, doing my thing, and Joe's going to say, hey, Roy, a fellow alum just posted a job that's perfect for you. I don't know the alum. I'm not looking for a job, but I got this agent. I see it as sort of a clearing substrate of supply and demand that's going to float above all of us. And it's going to change everything, because there's no way I would know about that job in today's world, right?
I can't wait. I'm in. I'd pay for it now. I mean, the funny thing is the technology is there now for most of what you're saying. It's not like you're talking about any new technology.
It's only the hardware. And let me tell you something, everybody's working on it. Meta with Ray-Ban and Apple is working, like everyone is working on what is the hardware interface to see what you see and hear what you hear in a reasonable, cost-effective, low-energy, redundant way, right? And you go to CES this past year, like there's a limitless pin that's recording things. Everyone's working on what is it? Is it a pin? Is it a magnet? Is it I think it's going to be integrated into glasses of some sort, but it kind of doesn't have to be. I mean, just so limitless AI is just audio recording. They're recording the whole time, right?
Yeah, I actually Limitless had a product before called Rewind, which I quite liked. So that's looking at everything on your computer as well. It's watching every meeting, it's looking at every website. They pivoted to the audio, and I know people love the audio. To me, that's not that interesting because I actually don't have tons of just audio meetings. I actually wanted to know what website am I looking at, in my Zoom meeting. I want it to actually have seen what someone presented. I want it to look at my emails because I have a meeting coming up and I've got a terrible memory. I can't remember when I talked to that person last, honestly, where that meeting came from. I want it to do my job and search the email and said to me, by the way, you got a meeting coming up. This is how you met the guy. This is something he posted on LinkedIn last week, by the way. This is what you should know.
It's going to make everything.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not complicated, but no one's doing that right now, and I don't know why.
Well.
And yes, like you can argue it's hardware, but it's not just hardware. A lot of it is you could do half the way there right now on my MacBook, which is plenty powerful.
Yeah, well, so you just got to the answer, which is trust is fundamental, and Apple is perfectly placed, right? Apple already has access to pretty much everything I do, say, to everyone I talk to, all my calendar, my contacts, blah, 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 Apple, and has privacy first. They're like, your phone's so encrypted, we can't get to it. Like the FBI has tried to get us to unlock phones and we can't do it. It's just not possible. It's encrypted, and so they do what they always do. They're a fast follower. They're going to do it right. They're going to get it right. It's going to be a convergence of all the Apple stuff you already have, plus an evolution of Vision Pro and a much smaller form factor that is much more transparent. Like they're going to get there, and the Apple ecosystem is going to say, yep, I'm in. And so it's going to be an evolution of Siri and your iPhone and your Mac and some sort of vision element that does it.
Or for someone like me, I might say, I don't care about the vision, but you know what? I'm happy to have that app running on my Apple Watch, my Apple iPhone, probably my Apple Ring to replace my Siri at some point, and my computer. And actually, between all of that, it knows everything it needs to know.
So what I would say, you want to see the future, there's again, Apple TV Plus. There's a show called Swan Song. It's actually not about this. It's about cloning and other. It's a good sci-fi movie. But the UX of the movie, I think we'll get to eventually, which everyone starts their day by putting in contacts and an in-ear piece that are powered by human body heat. And once you put them in, you have XR. Everything, there's overlays everywhere. Pop up of this, like you're seeing things in front of you, you're talking to people, you can have a FaceTime call while you're walking, like blah, 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 blah. Like, and
I love that. Again, I'd actually be in on that as well. I think it's, I'm a techie, what can I say? But it's funny, non-techies think of Apple as being innovative.
No.
I mean, but those of us who are more techies know there's nothing innovative about Apple at all. They just do it better than everyone else, but they aren't actually coming up with it. Samsung phones are much more advanced than iPhones.
Completely.
Apple just do it better.
Yeah, well, they make it seamless. They're like, don't worry about all that noise. We're giving it to you the right way, the way it ought to be, and intuitive. Like when my mom. So I was the IT department. I am the IT department for my extended family. Okay, when I moved them all to Mac, the IT department calls went to zero. And before that, oh, this is happening. That's how do I do this? How do I do that? Like, and when my mom got a Mac, and she's like, they forgot to put the manual in. I'm like, they didn't forget. I'll just let you. Turn it on, and she's like, "What do you mean turn it on?" This is a woman, who reads the entire manual that comes with her new car. She's been driving for 50 years or whatever, 60 years. Like, yeah, it's going to be intuitive. It's going to be natural. It's not going to be unlike her, the movie when he turns on the operating system and asks a few questions and off you go. Yeah. I as you can tell, like what it says on my profile is true. Skeptical, techno-optimist. Like I'm pretty optimistic about what's coming. I think it's going to be fascinating.
Nice. I can't wait.
Yeah.
So what do you like to do for fun?
Oh, so yeah. I mean, my wife and I got together around rock climbing. We did a ton of rock climbing. I mean, as I said, my son is off to Japan to do rock climbing himself. Spending time with the family, spending time with the dog. I like any outdoor sports, hiking, camping, paddling, climbing, blah blah blah. I'm a very curious person. I like to do anything new that I haven't done before. I kind of my wife likes to joke around, but I have my level ones of everything. I have a pilot's license. I have done skydiving level ones. I've done hang gliding level one, scuba diving. Scuba diving, I went to level two. I did my night dives and deep dives and whatnot. Yeah, so I just like outdoor adventure stuff and trying new things and learning new things. Like I'm just deeply curious. I just love talking to people who I should back up. So basically, I think deeply that I have something to learn from everyone. That, in fact, on LinkedIn, I tell people I'm happy to connect, but let's have a little chat first. And sometimes I'll end up on a call with a kid. They're in university or right out of university. And they always start off, oh, thank you so much for making the time. And I'm like, you have something to teach me. Youth alone is a lens that I no longer enjoy. You have a view of the world. You were born into a world with the internet. You have a different view of the way the world works and looks and feels. And so I love just talking to people and exploring and understanding what they're working on and how that will affect all of us. I just think that that's fascinating. There's a great newsletter. It's a magazine called Science News. It's 150 years old. It used to be called Science Newsletter. On the spectrum of science publishing, there's Discover for everybody. Scientific American. You kind of have to know your stuff to read that. Like, this is right down the middle. Like, it's more complex than Discover, but not nearly the time commitment of Scientific American. But it does all of science in quarter page, half page. It's about 20 odd pages. They used to do it every 2 weeks. They just literally this year, they moved to a monthly format now. But it's great. Geology, anthropology, astrophysics. It's like all of science in little. My favorite thing they do is called 50 Years Ago. They republish something they did 50 years ago. And then they say, here's what happened since, which is fascinating. But yeah, so feeding the mind is one of my big pastimes. I just love learning new things. There's so much to learn about everything. Yeah.
Nice. Now, soon you'll stop subscribing to that and you'll just ask your LLM to give you the summary.
Honestly,
I already I do use, I read quite a lot of news. I quite enjoy reading news, however depressing it is. But I often quite like Perplexity's summaries of all this stuff. It does a nice job. I'll just go down that, because that doesn't show me what I'm used to seeing. You just go down that rabbit hole of Perplexity showing you things. Quite fun.
Love it. Yes, no, 100%. In fact, just interacting with AI in a verbal exchange is really amazing. And,
yeah. And it's interesting. I used to use Wikipedia a lot. But like yesterday, I had a question on something which I would have traditionally looked on Wikipedia.
Right.
I just asked ChatGPT. Yep. It gave me a great summary.
Yep.
And it included some latest stuff.
I tell you, I'll leave you with a quick story. My daughter, when she was a freshman, she made the varsity sprinting team. Great. In the fall. In the winter, she ran distance and made a whole bunch of really close girlfriends on the distance team. Come spring, she got completely stressed out. She's like, do I have to go back to sprinting because I'm varsity? Can I stay with my friends? Like, brother, sister, parents, coaches. So she went to Pi, inflection.ai. Pi.com is an impact. It's designed by Mustafa Suleyman, the Google DeepMind founder who now runs Microsoft AI. In the middle, he did Inflection with Pi, and you're supposed to talk to it. It's supposed to be empathic. I'm an AI guy. I thought for sure Pi's going to say, here's the pros, here's the cons. Good luck with your decision. Pi said, that's a hard decision. I see why you want to talk about it. Here's what you should do. My daughter was like, what about this? What about that? What about college? What about blah, blah, blah? Pi's like, yeah, you bring up some really good points. I still think, Pi stuck to its guns about the advice. I think I'm an okay parent. Pi knocked it out of the park. Pi said, congrats for being varsity. Friends are more important in life. If you've made close friends, stick with them. I was like, oh my God, A, why didn't I think of that? And B, that's excellent advice. That is right. And from that moment, which is now 2+ years ago, I'm like, everyone's going to be talking to AI about everything. There's just no question. It's going to be every age asking questions like you're asking instead of going to Wikipedia or just about life decisions. Should I do this? Should I do that? Here are my options. What do you think? Like, yeah, no question, I think.
I agree 100%. So, can you stop working? Can you switch off?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't see. So I guess it's this whole work play thing, right? So I very much enjoy working, like and people use that. I have, as I said way earlier about the journey is the reward. I don't think you should be in pain working. Like working should be fun. You should be hopping out of bed because it's exciting and interesting. I tell people who work for me up front, I say, look, beware of what you enjoy in front of me, because I'm going to give you more of that. And when I see you suffering with something, I'm going to give it to him because he loves it, right? Like this is the reality of the world. Life is short, and you should be doing what gets you fired up and what makes it hard to sleep because you're excited about solving the problem or working it out, and not about stress having to do something you don't want to do. Like, so I don't know. I'm not even sure I know what switching it off means. Like the whole idea of like, yeah. So probably not. I'm probably bad at that. If that's an objective, I don't feel it's an objective for me. But yeah. So the answer is no. I don't think I know how to switch it off. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, fair enough. I get it.
Yeah.
What's been a pivotal moment for you in your life, your personal, your business life?
Pivotal moment. I mean, there, moments that turn the corner. So I somewhat intentionally got laid off from my first professional job right out of undergrad. I worked at Leo Burnett Advertising, and I happened to, it's a longer story, but my last job at Leo Burnett was new business development. So I was working with the leadership team, with the CEO, the chief marketing officer, on pitches. And I was the pitch monkey. I was carrying the boards and doing the PowerPoints and all that kind of stuff. And because I was at the top, I got wind that there was going to be a layoff. And I technically wasn't assigned to that team. I was on the beach because my last client had closed down the project. And so I was working for them. And my team was like, oh, you should be assigned formally so you don't, because clearly people who are on the beach are going to get laid off first. And I was like, it's not such a bad. So I knew I wanted to go to business school. And so I got laid off. And lo and behold, I went to the CEO and told him he had made the right decision, that I thought that we were a little fat and happy as an organization. He wrote me a recommendation letter because he knew me. And blah, blah, blah. So that was a pivotal moment. Like I applied to business school. I knew I wanted to travel either way. I was going to either travel and go to business school or travel and not. And so I dropped my application into the post office and I got on an airplane and went off with a backpack. I found out that I had to come back to the States on a payphone in Sydney, that I had got accepted to business school. So that whole point in life, like deciding not to be formally assigned, deciding to do the dance with a layoff. Should I do it? Should I not do it? Deciding to go talk to the CEO after being laid off. Like there was a whole bunch of things in there that played out well. They were risky potentially, but it all worked out. That was a pivotal moment. Meeting my wife is a pivotal moment, no question. Yeah,
Sounds perfect.
Yeah, and your children, each child is another. That's a whole other ball of wax, obviously.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And how does a balanced life look? That sort of center line of balance, meaning you've always got some ups and downs. But how does a balanced life look for you?
Yeah, I abide by the everything in moderation, right? Like, I, as you can tell, I love to learn new things and all that. I love to try anything, I encourage my kids. I'm like, if someone comes up to you and says, do you want to? Yes is the answer. I don't care what comes after that. Like, unless they're doing something really stupid that's going to hurt somebody. Yeah, try, explore, grow, learn. Like, and the balance is everything in moderation. If you turn anything up to 100%, that's a little dangerous, right? I think balance is about ebbing and flowing between options and things and learning and exploring. And yeah, so I think I worry about, I don't like certainty and I don't like purity. I think that that's not a thing. Like everything is a shade of gray. If something is binary, black and white, red and blue, blah, 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 I'm like, I just know that that's wrong. Like that's not how the real world works. So for me, it's all about moderation and balance between all the things that are coming at you, and recognizing that when you're doing too much of one thing, right? You go down the road. If you just ate oranges are good for you. If you just ate oranges, you're going to die, right? Like, you got moderation. Yeah.
Great nuggets in there. What's one piece of advice you would give to an aspiring entrepreneur?
Piece of advice: listen to the customer. If I had to have one piece of advice, like, yes, you're smart. Yes, you've got great experiences. Yes, your team knows things, but listen to the customer. The customer, I have had entrepreneurs. But there's examples that not. Steve Jobs is like, the customer doesn't know what they want. Okay, that may be true, but 9 times out of 10, the customer kind of knows what they want, right? Maybe you're a jobs person who's predicting better than the customer. Okay, sure, the customer can't see that far into the future. But generally, if they want to take money out of their wallet and give it to you, you should probably listen to them.
Good advice. And to be fair, when Steve Jobs said that, Apple was innovating. They were literally creating products that no one else had even imagined. No one imagined you'd want to honestly hold the internet in your pocket, or you'd want all of your music library in your pocket. It just wasn't in people's mind. If you'd have asked a room full of people, do you want that? They'd have been like, well,
Yeah,
why?
totally.
So yeah, that was true innovation. And how can people find you?
I'm blessed with a very easy name. You remove the space and you'll find me. Roy Vella, LinkedIn, /Roy Vella, Roy Vella at Gmail. And if you hit a Roy Vella that it's not me, it's probably my father, right? So you'll get me either way. I'm easy to find. On LinkedIn, it's just /Roy Vella. Or NextCoLab.com. On the site as well. And people are welcome to sign up for our private beta. You go to that site, put in your email, and we'll put you on the list.
Well, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure, Leo. Real pleasure.
And thank you for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, tell your friends, and leave a review.